Message to the Muslims who are imprisoned by Tawagit. Bismillahi al-Rahmani al-Rahim. Trials and affliction are one of the means of strengthening faith in the hearts of men. Allah the Almighty said, Allah would not leave the believers in that state you are in presently until He separates the evil from the good. Allah Azza wa Jal said, it was so that Allah might test what is in your breasts and purify what is in your hearts. And Allah is knowing of that within the breasts. He also said, do the people think that they will be left to say, we believe, and they will not be tried? But we have certainly tried those before them, and Allah will surely make evident those who are truthful, and He will surely make evident the liars. Surah Al-Ankabut verse 2. And what has come from Hadith is the statement of the Prophet, praise be upon him. The people who are tried the most are the prophets, then the righteous, then those who are like them. Trials are one of the means of testing faith and determining the believer's ability to be patient in the face of hardships and difficulties. Therefore, when we review the history of imams and scholars, we find examples of these verses in scholars who were subjected to the most severe types of trials, to the point that some of them died in the depths of prisons, or were killed by the people of tyranny and corruption. The imams of the four schools of thought were each subjected to torture and abuse at the hands of those in power. Abu Hanifa was imprisoned for refusing to take up the position of judge during the Abbasid era. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal was tested on the issue of the creation of the Quran, which was held by the Mu'tazila. Imam al-Shafi'i was subjected to the wrath of those in power on the grounds that he loved the family of the Prophet. The position of Imam Malik bin Anas was not better than others, and Imam al-Nasi, the author of the Hadith, met his death at the hands of the mob in the Levant for writing a book in which he collected the prophetic hadiths on the virtues of Ali bin Abi Talib, may God honor his face. As for Imam al-Bukhari, he was also tested in the issue of saying that the Quran was created. Among those who were mentioned to have been subjected to trials were scholars such as Ibn Arabi and Ibn Taymiyyah. It is necessary to mention Sa'id bin Jubair and his trial with al-Hajjaj bin Yusuf al-Thaqafi. We are a nation like no other, a nation of men and heroes throughout history. Every era has its men who implemented that Sharia, knowing its rulings, acting on what they knew, and calling to what they learned and acted upon. Through them, God raised this religion, honored the Muslims, and preserved this pure Sharia from every tempting and misleading person. The ordeal of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah. The ordeal of Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah is considered a special kind of ordeal. As his life, may Allah have mercy on him, was a continuous ordeal, he kept moving from one test to another, from one prison to another, from one country to another, from an unjust ruler, to a fanatical jurist, to an envious spiteful person, and that was only because Allah, glory be to him, enlightened his mind and heart, so he wanted to revive this nation from the snare of innovations and novelties, so what happened to him happened. The Shaykh of Islam continued to ponder the reasons for the nation's decline and setback, so he focused all his attention on thinking about getting out of that bad state that the nation had been afflicted with, until God honored him and he became aware of the reasons for that fatal, incurable disease. So he began to fight every innovation, correct every crookedness, and oppose every innovator. He, may God have mercy on him, was fighting on various fronts and on all levels at the same time, in order to unify the nation on a single word, on the pure belief in the middle path that God Almighty has distinguished it with. We will suffice here with citing 3 examples of the trials and tribulations that he, may God have mercy on him, fell into and how God, glory be to him, saved him from them. On Saturday the 9th of Jumada al-Ula in the year 705, the Ahmadi Sufis complained to the Emir of Damascus, al-Afram, about Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, due to his frequent denunciation of their innovations. The governor had no choice but to order the Shaykh to be brought to his palace and asked him to ease his pressure on them, and not to be too harsh in denouncing them, but he refused strongly and said with the dignity of a working scholar, this is what is possible, and everyone must come under the book and the sunnah in word and deed, and whoever deviates from them must be denounced. So the Ahmadis wanted to use their well-known tricks of playing with snakes and entering the fire. In order to convince the governor and those present of the correctness of their actions, the Shaykh of Islam invalidated these tricks, and emerged from this debate victorious and triumphant. The Ahmadi Sufis were obliged to abandon their heretical practices, and a report was written to that effect. In the same year, the Ash'ari scholars, jurists and judges gathered in the presence of the Emir of Damascus, and asked Ibn Taymiyyah to come and debate him on his book, Al-Aqidah al-Wasitiyah. They held 3 debate sessions, during which Ibn Taymiyyah was able to prevail over them with evidence and proof, until he forced them to confirm the authenticity of what was stated in al-Wazishiyah. This led to great confusion in Damascus, and the Ashariya became furious and angry, and they began to attack Ibn Taymiyyah's students, prevented Hafiz Jamal al-Din al-Mizzi from giving hadiths in the mosque, and imprisoned him. In it, the Ashariya of the Levant also corresponded with the Ashariya of Egypt to pressure the Sultan to exile Ibn Taymiyyah from the Levant to Egypt and put him on trial there. Indeed, Ibn Taymiyyah was taken to Egypt in Ramadan, and a debate was held for him with the scholars and jurists there, but they did not allow him to defend himself or speak at all. Their leader was Ibn Makhluf, the Maliki judge, who was one of Ibn Taymiyyah's fiercest opponents and envious people, due to his lack of knowledge and his many mistakes in issuing fatwas. And also the misguided Sufi sheikh, the pantheist, the unionist, Nasr al-Manbiji, who was a man of prestige with the emir of Egypt, Baybars al-Jashankir. The matter ended with Ibn Taymiyyah being imprisoned in the citadel in Cairo, then he was put in the dungeon with his brother Abdullah and his third brother Abdul Rahman. He wrote a book disparaging Sheikh Ibn Taymiyyah and his creed, and this book was read in the Levant and Egypt, and the Hanbalis were forced to oppose him, and they suffered a great humiliation and a great ordeal in all the countries. Innovations reappeared in Damascus during the Sheikh's imprisonment in Egypt. The Raghib prayers were performed in the middle of Shaban in the year 707, and fires were lit as usual. Ibn Taymiyyah had nullified all of that several years ago. Some scholars tried to get Ibn Taymiyyah out of prison in exchange for him renouncing some things in his creed, but Ibn Taymiyyah refused and preferred prison to giving up what he believed in. The sheikh remained in prison for about 2 years. Then he left through the intercession of Prince Hussam al-Din Muhanna, king of the Arabs, and remained residing in Cairo. This is how Allah's way of testing his righteous servants, the working scholars, has been, so that Allah may distinguish the wicked from the good. These great scholars were patient in the face of the trials and tribulations they were subjected to, and they did not weaken or submit, and they took refuge in a strong support. So Allah saved them from what He tested them with, and raised their status in this world, and made for them a good mention until this day of mankind, and in the hereafter, by Allah's permission, He will make them among those brought near. Ibn al-Qayyim reported, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, may Allah have mercy on him, said to me once, what can my enemies do to me? My paradise and my garden are in my heart wherever I go. They are with me and never leave me. If I am imprisoned, it is seclusion for worship. If I am killed, it is martyrdom. If they expel me from my land, it is tourism. Source: Al-Wabil al-Sa'ib 148. Ibn Taymiyyah was once asked, where are the people of truth? He replied, either under the earth, in prison or in the battlefield. We ask Allah to release every Muslim in the prisons. May Allah give them patience. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.